Um, I think we are going to, we've been waiting for, now we have 25, 26 participants with us. So let's just start. Let's not waste our time. I'm actually delighted on behalf of IMO that our second webinar series is coming along, and this is the second session, and we came up with a very interesting topic. The topic for the day is whether AI, artificial intelligence, a frontliner or a facilitator in mediation. Now, let me just introduce IMO to you, a very brief introduction along with what is mediation, and then I will introduce the speakers. I'm very thrilled actually to introduce the speakers. Most of the speakers are very young, and we also have an excellent keynote speaker who can give us a lot of inputs about AI's role in the legal industry, especially in mediation. Now, mediation, just for the only, we have to understand what is mediation, then probably we will be able to understand why mediation, why are we talking about all these AI in mediation. So just to give a basic understanding about mediation and the reason why this topic. Now, mediation is a kind of ADR, alternative dispute resolution process, whereby a neutral third party helps the conflicting parties to find a resolution. Now, this neutral party is called the mediator, sorry, or the facilitator, and the conflicting parties are the we have to help them to find a resolution. Now, there are 2 points, two streams to it. One is the process that we have to follow to conduct the mediation. That is, there has to be an outcome. It's been very structured in India, at least now, that there has to be a opening statement. You have to tell the parties what is your role, how far you will go, what is the idea of the sittings, how many sittings, X, Y, Z, the protocol of mediation. Then if the mediation comes to a conclusion, an agreement has to be drawn. And that agreement, there is a process on under the Indian law, the current law, to get that mediation agreement executed. This is a process. Then, apart from the process, then the mediation itself, which includes the skills, the techniques, how far you go, what are you going to tell the parties, how far, what are the skills, how many times you can talk to the parties, or what is that you need to tell the parties. The real skill of the mediator, which helps the parties to come to some conclusion. Good. I mean, they may go apart, they may not find a resolution, they find a resolution. But that the meaty part of the mediation, that is the skill part, the technical part. Now, we are going to find out where will this, what is the role of AI? Will AI have anything to do? Is it AI going to help mediation as a process? If at all, if you can use it, how far you can use it, how much you should use it? Is there has our people thought about it? Now, in finding out, I am the last person. I found extremely difficult to find a good, what do you call, a person who could give me a correct understanding. So that is where we thought the best way to understand it is to understand it through to the current, generation of students who definitely has got something to say about the topic. They all have something to say about the topic. So today, and then I thought, okay, then our students, we are making them talk. So we should have a very an expert hand with us who can tell us whether the idea or the concept what we have understood, or at least the speakers generally have understood is right, or what is the future of this, what is the real scene. So I will not bore you with my conversation. The whole idea is just to introduce the speaker. We have 5 amazing speakers today. The first one is Shloka Reddy. Shloka Reddy will introduce herself and will speak about mediation. Everybody has a topic. They will talk about their topic and they will talk about it. Then after Shloka, we have Rujul Tripathi. Shloka is from, she studies in London. She studies in University College of London. Rujul is a Symbiosis Pune student. The third is we have Siddharth Govind. Sorry, Siddharth Govind. Siddharth Govind is a King's College London graduate. Now, he's still doing his final year, I think. The third is Krishna Mohan from Tamil Nadu Law University of Tamil Nadu from Trichy. Then we have our last fifth young speaker is Charanya Reddy. Charanya Reddy is a law graduate from Leeds College, London, and now he is doing his postgraduate in Duke's University, USA. After that, only after the young speakers talk, we get the privilege of understanding what our main speaker has to say. We have among us Mr. Eswar Prakash. I need to introduce him because he is a good friend and also an expert in the field of artificial intelligence, holding an MSc degree from the University of Huddersfield, who is strong with a strong commitment to ethical AI application. Eswar spearheads a team of software specialists developing innovative solutions across various industries, including the legal sector. His work integrates advanced AI methodologies to streamline industry process, enhances accuracy, and ensures compliance with ethical standards. So with whatever I understand, he's the right person to give us some feedback on how we go about it. So let me first hear what Shloka has to say. Shloka, can you please, Eswar, can you just give me, show your, let us all introduce you to the speakers. Can all the speakers on their videos, if that is okay? Thank you so much, Eswar, for joining us. Thank you for, taking the offer. He's a very busy person, but thank you so much. Being a Sunday, he has agreed. Thank you very much for coming to our small endeavor for learning. Thank you all of you. Shloka, I think you can start without wasting our much time. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Shloka Reddy, and I'm an Indian international student studying in London. The topic that I'll be talking about today is the existing uses of AI in the mediation field. So while doing the research for this prompt, I found a few websites that I found very interesting. For example, Smart Settle AI, which is also an app that is used to facilitate negotiations and mediations. So what this app does is it allows parties to input all their information and documents required for the mediation process, and also their preferences and constraints based on how far they're willing to go with the negotiations. And it uses an algorithm and the information provided to aid the negotiation process by giving the people advice that they require. Another website was Do Not Pay, and this website is marketed as a robot lawyer that helps people contest things that most people struggle with, for example, parking tickets, or even like the compensation that you get when your flight is delayed, or very minor inconveniences that still require mediation in the process. Another website that was also there is known as Arbilex. And Arbilex was a startup that uses algorithms to analyze data sets of past arbitrations in the area and also related to the field of your case. So when you do give it the information and all the facts of your case, it would find similarities in outcomes that have been there before this and use that to sort of give you the advice that you require and also the points that you could use in the mediation. So these were the few websites that I found that are readily available in terms of AI and what is available to the common man. But another part of this is countries and how governments are sort of incorporating AI to facilitate their to facilitate negotiation and mediation in a bigger scale. And the country that I found that is almost spearheading this is China. And China's approach to AI has been to welcome it rather than to fear it. I say this because China amended their rules on arbitration in their China International Economic Trade and Arbitration Commission, and they did this to ensure that digitalization is to prompt digitalization of everything, right from things like electronic filing and digital filing of documents. So this would start, and they've also used a centralized system to ensure that the transition of going from a completely human where each person looks at every document, ensure the transition from going from that to AI is smooth. So China is already using AI for things like case management, and is also using AI to generate transcripts, which is something that was very innovative, because in a country like China, there are multiple dialects and languages similar to ours. So having AI that can recognize different language and actually print transcripts using the script that they use has been something that has been very popular. And one more thing, lastly, that China has done is they've very recently used AI to review draft awards that are awarded by the tribunals, which I believe has a lot of future and scope. With this, I would like to conclude my input.
Thank you very much, Shloka. That was a good beginning. Now I think I think Rijul should take up the next. What is that? What is the next topic Rijul can help us with? And please introduce yourself also, Rijul.
Yes. Greetings to the continuum of intelligentsia present before me. My name is Rijul Tripathi. I'm a third-year BBA LLB honors student at Symbiosis Law School, Pune. And I'm here to shed some light on the various types of AI models and which one might be best suited for mediation. Artificial intelligence is, nothing but a set of mathematical progressions and equations that create an algorithm. Now, an algorithm is an interesting thing. When you put together a bunch of algorithms intended to reach a particular goal, and then you apply it to the corpus of data available, you have a rudimentary form of an artificial intelligence. This artificial intelligence has a lot of models with different models specializing in different tasks. Here we shall look at 4 primary models of the same. The first one is the machine learning model. Machine learning is a subset of AI which focuses on developing algorithms capable of learning itself from the data instead of being hand-coded, for that matter, with specific instructions to accomplish a task. Machine learning can be categorized into 3 main types. First one being supervised learning, where the models learn from the data that is already classified to make predictions and forecasts. Second, unsupervised learning, where models identify patterns and relationships in unlabeled data without explicit guidance. And third one being reinforcement learning, where models use trial and error method and feedback from the environment like penalties or rewards to make the correct decisions. The second primary model that we have is the other deep learning models. The deep learning models are a type of machine learning model that use artificial neural networks and somewhat very similar to the nodal networks and neural networks in our brain, with multiple layers, hence deep, to learn and make predictions from these data. These models are particularly powerful in handling large and complex data sets and have been instrumental in advancing fields like computer vision or natural language processing or speech recognition. Natural language processing is also the third model we will talk about. These NLP models are designed to understand and generate human language and involve tasks like text classification, sentimental analysis, language translation, etc., and can be good virtual assistants and translators. The fourth model that we have are generative models, which can generate new data that resemble a given data set. Now, coming to the larger question that we have of which AI model might be best suited for mediation. I believe to answer this question, we first must understand that these models are like building blocks. A person who needs an AI for a certain task can add multiple models together to create a model which is proficient at the task that a party might want to delegate. Another thing that we need to consider here is what scope of duties do we want the AI to undertake? Do we want the AI to review the documents? Do we want the AI to take notes of the meeting? Do we want AI to translate the minutes to make it more accessible for the parties? Or do we want AI to act as the mediator itself? Only when we have an answer for the role that we want AI to assume can we point out which one might be best suited. Some rule-based models where knowledge is given a legal area and as input set of rules can and have been used to develop negotiation assistance for systems. Others like machine learning can analyze or solve problems by drawing on prior experience and adapting past solutions to fit the criteria that we have at present. NLPs and generative models can automate the drafting of mediation agreements, minutes of the meeting, and translate them to increase accessibility. Hence, personally, in my opinion, there's no one-size-fit-all approach that can be used to declare one model to be best suited. The best model, in my opinion, depends on the needs and parties of the mediator. Thank you.
That is very crisp and nice. Thank you very much, Raju. Thank you very much. I think, Eswar ji, I am not going to intervene. You are noting down the things I am hoping. Yes. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Raju. Siddharth, can I have your side of the story?
Sure. Thank you, Rajul. And I think what Rajul has done is also
Yeah, you have to introduce yourself also.
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. My name is Siddharth, and I've just recently graduated doing law in London. And yeah, very excited to be here and chip in my 2 cents on this topic. So thank you again, Rajul. I think, as you said, the important point is to first define what you'd like to use AI for, and then you can go into sort of what model fits in best. But I'd just like to talk about a couple of things very briefly. So firstly, how do these systems work? Again, there are multiple systems, but in my understanding, the process with AI generally starts and ends with data. So you start as a user by inputting. So for example, let's take a large language model or a generative model like a chat GPT. So you start by inputting information, inputting data into the system. And it then converts the data into a language that it can understand. And what it then does is the important part. So it has this huge data set, this huge information sort of at its disposal, that a huge sort of database of information that it essentially runs all of the information that you provide through it, and then it tries to track patterns and find other sort of corrections in it. So the algorithm point that you mentioned, Rachel, again, I think is a very relevant one. So for instance, if you ask a large language model to give you an itinerary for a vacation, it will then look at sort of all of the information in its database and look at sort of the patterns, and it'll have numerous websites, links, articles at its disposal, and then it will generate an output based on it. So it starts with data and ends with data in terms of the output. But the bigger question, again, I think is, which I've been asked to look at, is whether it's accurate and reliable. Is the information that's provided by these systems reliable? By and large, the answer is yes. Most systems, most AI systems have very low error rates, so 2 or 3% of their output is erroneous. So by and large, yes, it is reliable. However, there is an issue of hallucination that exists with these AI systems. And what exactly that means is it presents information that's often a mixture of truth and fiction. So it will present information that it seems confident about, but could be completely made up. There's actually an interesting case of a Canadian lawyer who was reprimanded by the court because he presented and cited a lot of cases in his brief, but it turns out none of these cases actually existed, and he had used these AI systems to sort of prepare the brief and so on. So that there is an issue of hallucination, and a lot of people, and the reason why this happens is normally because the database, as I mentioned, is quite flawed, or there's a lot of there might be biases. So for instance, if an AI model is trained on data from a particular geographic region, it might then assume that those traits exist everywhere when they don't actually do. So there's a lot of people building AI models, bespoke AI models with, specifically for the legal field, and perhaps these bespoke models, and I'm sure Mr. Ishwar could tell us a bit more about it, but perhaps these bespoke models will be better suited to avoid the issue of hallucination and provide more reliable information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Siddharth. You all are win time and crisp on time, I think. And now I want Krishna to handle her topic. Krishna, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. I'll try to be just as quick as all my other friends here. But I'm Krishna. I study in the Tamil Nadu National Law University in Trichy. And the topic that I'm here to discuss today is whether the data developer can be held accountable for the output given by AI. So most of the time when we use AI and AI gives us a sort of faulty output, the first person we seek to blame is the person that, made the AI, the developer. That's the obvious answer to a lot of people. So when that happens, we sort of need to understand just how big a role the AI developer plays in defining data and the output that AI can generate. So what I've learned so far with my interactions with other people in the field is that the effectiveness of AI is very, very dependent on the quality of data entered into it, just like how both Rijul and Siddharth had explained so far. And so proper curation and filtering of data that is entered into AI is very, very important. You can't just enter a large set of unidentified or unlabeled data into AI and expect it to sort of give you a very curated, sort of very bespoke answer. So since the effectiveness of the model is heavily influenced by quality and the quantity of the data that it uses, you can see that in our field, especially, quality is sort of a problem. In any other field, assuring the quality of data is not exactly difficult. But in mediation, it becomes an issue because information as to mediation settlements is very scarcely available. This is even more so the problem with respect to the process of mediation. While all of us might be aware of what goes on in the mediation procedure-wise, we're not really aware of the nitty-gritties of the process. We're not really aware of the emotions that are involved, the sentiment that is involved. And even if we are aware, it is really difficult to translate this into data that you can enter into a machine. Because as Rijul pointed out, I'm sure, AI is this math. AI is this math, and it is based on this math that we get a particular output. So proper curation of data is necessary to ensure precise and dependable outcomes. Now, there are various methods that I'm sure that AI developers use in order to ensure that data is as reliable as possible. As far as I'm aware, there is this method called the semi-supervised learning, where both labeled and unlabeled data are sort of introduced to the AI, and it's sort of tested. The AI is sort of tested on how well it is able to sort of differentiate between the two, and how well it's able to even use this unlabeled data to sort of give us an output that we want. This is a clarification that I need from Mr. Ishwar at the end, as in how close can we really get to accuracy, even with data augmentation or semi-supervised learning, both of which Rijul actually discussed. How well or how much can an AI developer especially ensure that his product is well worthy of being used in a field like law and mediation? And now, just as Shloka said, right, it is already being used in a lot of ways. It is being used in an extremely automated sort of way in order to review contracts and sort of give you the outline and yeah, so sort of AI is used to draft contracts, right? And how it's used is that AI is able to give you a specific outline. It's able to review if the information that you've added into it is correct, depending on all the other contracts it has looked at beforehand. But how will AI necessarily work with mediation, where all data is firstly not available, which becomes a confidentiality issue once we enter the data in, which I don't want to step on Charanyan's toes here. He'll be dealing with confidentiality issue. And secondly, how even if this data is entered, the machine will be able to sort of tell it apart, as to what is actually relevant to the scenario or the problem that it is that is being presented to it, or what is irrelevant, you know? So yeah, with this I conclude, and over to Charanyan.
Thank you, Krishna. It was very crisp and nice. Thank you, Sharanyan. I think she just mentioned, she gave it off that you are going to talk about confidentiality. So please let us know what you have got to say.
Yes, of course. First of all, thank you for having me here, Amblivam, and the International Mediations Organization. I am a master's student at Duke University in the US, and I'm also a member of Lincoln's Inn in London. So, as my friend rightly pointed out, I am going to address the issue of confidentiality and another issue of bias, which has already been addressed by my other friend Siddharth here, but I shall bring it to the forefront. So, of course, these two issues, confidentiality and bias, are quite concerning for us as litigators and mediators, I'd say. And I shall address them in turn. So as far as confidentiality is concerned, of course, generative AI has been used to streamline document review in legal dispute resolution. I myself have used it in a few cases, and it may, of course, in the future even be used to mediate disputes between parties. And whilst private law firms with ample resources have access to highly reliable platforms, there may be other platforms out there that are publicly available, and which could, of course, give rise to the fact that documents or information fed into it could be disclosed to those legally not entitled to it. And of course, even in the case of private law firms, isn't there an inherent risk that information accessed by that platform could be seen by another lawyer within the same firm who is also working on an analogous case? This is, of course, particularly important with the recent data breaches that T-Mobile had experienced in 2022, but also last year, where a renowned gaming company was the target of a coordinated phishing attack by AI hackers. So the question is there any way that confidentiality or privacy can be addressed within these AI systems at the development stage itself, so that such chinks in its armor aren't exposed at a later stage? And of course, the second issue, which is equally important, I'd say, is bias, which of course, as my friend Siddharth said, can be introduced into the decision-making process through the data that is not that is used to train the AI system, or through the design of the algorithm itself. So that, of course, would give us biases in the training data, in the algorithm itself, or the cognitive biases that we ourselves as humans have, and that we in turn feed into the AI system. And of course, this has already been an issue in cases such as healthcare in the US, or even in applicant tracking systems. In healthcare, for example, underrepresented data of women or minority groups can skew predictive data AI algorithms. For example, computer-aided diagnosis systems, as I have researched, have been found to return lower accuracy results for Black patients than white patients. And the other issue of applicant tracking systems themselves have seen issues with natural language processing algorithms, which can produce biased results within applicant tracking systems. For example, Amazon, in fact, stopped using a hiring algorithm after finding it favored applicants based on words like executed or captured, which were more commonly found on a man's resume. So the question for you, Mr. Prakash, would of course be, do these concerns give rise to a consideration of the lack of transparency of such AI-led mediations in the future? Or rather, will they give rise to such concerns? Because AI-based systems often rely on complex algorithms that are not easily understood by the parties or the legal professions sometimes involved in the mediation. And of course, as a result of that, they might even have concerns about the way in which that particular system reached its decision, and the factors, most importantly, that it took into consideration based on which it arrived at its decision. So those are the two main concerns that I had with AI and mediation, and more broadly, dispute resolution. Thank you.
Awesome. That was too much of. I think. See, I when I sat for this program, even before it started, I said I have no idea. I'm a very conventional practitioner, mediator, and a lawyer who runs it. For me, AI is a new party to the whole scenario. We are not familiar with it. So now, from what I understand is, again, coming back to my topic of mediation, with what I understand by the young speakers is, they know what are the things it can be used for, it cannot be used for. But how much it is going to fit into my system, how far, whether it is can only be used as a facilitator, or do you think, what is the future? Do you think it can per se act as a mediator also? Now, that is a whole topic about. I have got an idea about. Now I understand the most important thing. What I understood was the point where it is a math, where Rijul and Krishna were saying repeatedly that it is a math. And again, I have understood from Siddharth that Siddharth has a research point, but he also has, like me, a lot of questions. Charanyan is saying that he has used it, but only for document reading. Now, that is not the mediator's purpose. Can be, I told you, broadly into two. Can it be used as a process manager? A process manager with an opening statement you give. You can use a particular, make a prototype and use it only for the opening statement alone, and given only to draft that agreement. Also, will it be useful to draft an agreement? But it will not be like a regular contract. It will have lot more adjustments, and it will be more human than thing. Or are we going to see a time where a prototype, a person like how we see in the movies, Tamil movies, will come and sit and act as a mediator? This is the answer I want. So Eswar Prakash, we are dependent on you. Please let us know how it works.
Thanks, first of all. I hope you all can hear me. I'm just noting down one little step, and then I will start talking and addressing a lot of these points that you have points that you have raised. So one of the best things that I liked about what you all said was the fact that data is a crucial element to AI, and you can't be wrong. You can't be any more right than what you have researched and understood. The noise, on the underlying noise that we are hearing in the world and in the media and everywhere else, in the internet and everywhere, is about the capability of the new generation of AI models that have come through. The reliance on one of the things that we need to understand is how reliant we are, even when we think that there was no AI before, there was no thing. How reliant we were we? Let me take you back to about 5-6 years ago, and then think about what you were using at that point of time. You were using, I don't know, you might have used Google Maps. I used to use Google Maps quite a lot because I used to drive a lot. Was that programming, or was that AI? We used to have Google has a phenomenal situation thing where if I book a ticket, I don't know if it is available in India or other places. If I book a ticket for a cinema locally, I'll get an email to Google, and immediately it will mark up and say, well, actually, you got a ticket. I'm going to add that ticket to your wallet so that you can then scan it. I can then tell you, just before that particular cinema is on, tell you when you should leave, because there's traffic on the way to the cinema hall. So when you should leave, so that you can reach there in time. And by the way, if there are any accidents on the way, it'll tell you when it is. Was that AI or was that programming? Now, you might have seen places where it basically you go into a website and it's written in, say, for example, my colleagues live in Slovakia. And I typically visit some of their Slovak websites because I need to travel there. When I do that, when I go into a website and it basically looks at it and goes, well, actually, that looks like Slovak. Would you like me to translate it to English, please? That is that AI, or was that how did it detect the fact that it is Slovak that was on the page? Was it written somewhere in the thing, or did it actually figure it out? When you go into Google Translate, and I did it exactly what I did when I went to Slovakia, I was waiting in front of the hotel. The hotel had already closed at like 11:30, 9:30 or something, and I was there waiting with my colleagues to check in into the hotel, and it was 11:30 in the night by the time we got there. Now, there was a nice little note in front of the hotel room, which basically said, something about, the reception is not open after so much time. If it's out of hours, please call this number. These are all written in Slovak, basically, right? So there is absolutely no way I could have figured it out. I opened up my mobile. I opened up Google Lens, took a look at it, and it basically detected the fact that it is Slovak, and then it translated to me for me into English and said, this is what it says. Was that AI or was that programming, right? So we have been using these tools quite a lot. When did it become so apparent that it is AI, right? So until now, it was perfectly fine. It was gently there. I've got a Amazon Echo at home, and I've got my kids basically. The first day I got Amazon Echo to home, I installed it, I configured it, and everything is right, connected it to Spotify, everything is fine. My 5-year-old, or my 3-year-old actually, went near Amazon Echo and started saying, Echo, can you please blah blah blah? And in Tamil there is a beautiful word called Maralai. So she was using all sorts of Maralai to ask that little tool to play her favorite nursery rhyme. I was thinking, oh, this is never going to work. I'm pretty sure it's not going to pick it up. But it was able to pick up accurately what she was asking for, and was able to play it without one question. And she her face lit up when she turned around to me and said, it is playing what I'm asking it to play, right? So it is so good that we think, hang on, is there a human being behind it? That is how impactful AI can be, right? So it's great to hear all your thoughts. It's great to hear all your ideas. Now I'm going to go into my presentation. So let me start by sharing my screen. There's going to be a screen share, unfortunately. So hopefully you all can see. If you are on mobile phones, please forgive me for that. I'm hoping you can see. Can you all see? Can someone tell me?
Yes.
Okay.
We can all see it.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to start by talking about. Hold on. Sorry. Talking through. I'm gonna address all of your concerns. I'm gonna try to address all your concerns and your questions. And by the way, if you have any questions in the middle, please raise your hand. There is a raise your hand feature. Some moderator, I will pause and I will take a look at it, or a moderator
I'll
will remind me.
I'll get it. No worries.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Right. So who am I? My name is Eswar Prakash. I come from, like Ambali said, I'm a brilliant friend of hers. What she missed out was that we were schoolmates, and we used to. This was in this was in 1980s, so you know how that is. How people who have lived there that point of time, they will know. We come from a very small town, we loved the isolation of that small town. It was beautiful. It was a small town. We liked each other. We talked to each other. We met at temples. We did all those phenomenal things, and we never ever expected to live in a world where we are actually debating whether we should be replaced by a machine, right? That is how impactful the world change has been in our lives. I hold an MSc in artificial intelligence from a university called University of Huddersfield locally. The alumni of that university is Patrick Stewart. I don't know if you know them from Star Trek. So they are quite a good set of people who have come out of it, and it has a phenomenal industrial research lab. It also comes from, by the way, one of the great things about this is that university the person who wrote the original algorithm for Google search, the one that actually indexes things and lets you search for things, comes from the town where the university is. And I'm a software engineer, like many other people. I'm a techie, but I have a passion for language, and I love to see how we can preserve languages, different types of languages, using AI as a tool to do that. And I'm a big AI ethics advocate, which means that I do not believe that AI should be used willy-nilly, because it's a powerful tool, and we'll see why it's a powerful tool soon. I'm going to walk through the quick agenda of what I'm going to do. I am, by the way, my knowledge of mediation comes from talking to people like Umbly and and having debates and discussions on as if I know everything about law. But we do debate. Of course, we are great debaters, Indians are. So we have this tendency to do that. So my knowledge and comes from that. So forgive me if I'm using the wrong words sometimes, but hopefully I'm going to address a lot of the general questions that you may have, and specifically to mediation as well. So I'm going to start with a very brief history of AI, and it's important that you understand where it started and why it was started. Then we talk a little bit about intelligent machines and what we think is an intelligent machine, and we'll talk about the data, and the clarity of data, and what role data plays in this whole drama. Trusting machines. Now, here is where I'm going to address a little bit about the opinions and biases and what trust actually means when it comes to AI. But then we come to the point where what we are debating: do we fire human beings and hire AI? Is that the ultimate goal? Is that where we are heading to? And if we cannot fire human beings and hire them AI, what can we do with an AI model, right? And then we'll quickly talk about conclusions at the end as to what my opinions are. And then obviously, if you want to debate on anything, if you have time left, we can little bit of a discussion if you need to, right? So we'll start with a brief history of AI, right? It started in 1948. Alan Turing released a manifesto. Alan Turing was a phenomenal, brilliant British computer scientist who released a manual or a manifesto called Intelligent Machines, and he laid out what he thinks is the idea behind intelligent machines. I mean, he's the guy who basically when World War II was raging, he's the guy who basically put together a machine that broke Enigma code, which became the catalyst for the Axis powers defeat. Alan Turing's was very much a classic AI. I mean, I will talk about classical AI and the new age or new world AI, but the seed for the new age AI came from an hypothesis by another computer scientist on what machine learning is, right? And what it entails and what it is about. And then came the deep learning, which is a specialized machine learning exercise. And then came even a specialization on deep learning is called something called transformers, which is the driver for the current chat GPT thing, where you talk to them in natural language and it's able to do phenomenal replies, write phenomenal replies for you, right? And it was proposed. It was not done. It was proposed, and then someone implemented chat GPT called GPT-3 in 2022, which is OpenAI, is the company that does that. And latest news from what I know is that AI has helped predict DNA in such a way that you can use that to identify cancer and genetic disorders. And this comes from Google's DeepMind, sister concern, who has researched a lot. By the way, I would highly recommend all of you to watch a documentary called, I think it's called AlphaGo. It's a great that is a great debate on the same thing, exact same thing that we are talking about. Can machines replace human beings, right? I would love for you to watch that. The other recommendation that I have from a book is called A Brief History of Intelligence by Max Bennett. I would say add it to your bibliography whenever you get some time. Just look through that phenomenal books, right? So let's get into intelligent machines. Can machines be actually intelligent, right? So what do you mean by intelligent machines? When we started thinking about machines, think about the first time you encountered a computer. You started looking at it, you started doing Excel spreadsheets on it and word documents on it. You were able to print things, you were able to chat with people, you were able to search for information all from all around the world, and information was immediately accessible, right? I didn't say data. If you note that, I didn't say data was available. Information was available, which means that someone had actually gone through the data, sifted through the data, converted that into valuable information that can be provided to you. But that is not enough. That's not knowledge. Knowledge is something else. Knowledge is what when you look at the information, you have gained knowledge from it, and you have sifted through it, you have debated, you have thought about it, you have intuited something from that, which has become knowledge, and that you're going to use in your real life, right? So that's the difference. Those are very subtle differences, but it's very important for us to understand that data is not knowledge. Data is the first step towards knowledge. The second step is converting that into information, and third to knowledge, right? Where we are in terms of AI world is what is knowledge, and how can a machine acquire knowledge is where we are, right? We know information because we have already used Google search a lot, right? Now, then comes this phenomenal quote, and I read it somewhere, and this was an unknown physicist who wrote it. Artificial intelligence is not when a computer can write poetry, as in ChatGPT can write a great poetry, but when a computer will want to write poetry. Now that is intelligence, right? That indicates desire, right? And that desire is one of the key elements of evolution. If you were to think about the way our brain evolved, and it's a fascinating study anyway, if you look at it that way, it is our desire the evolution started when we started having a desire to do certain things, right? So for example, I want to communicate, I want to talk about this, I want to do this. AI is not there yet, right? And we'll talk about it a bit later about that as well, right? Now, how do we as human beings perceive intelligence, right? I can honestly, I can say, hand on my heart, that we still haven't figured it out. What is intelligence, right? We can perceive intelligence as, we can think about intelligence as logic, right? You are able to discern, as in Tamil they say pagattarivu. The logic is there. Empathy is a very key element of it. People think that that's an emotion, and it doesn't have anything to do with intelligence. But think about it. The way you make decisions, is it simply based on logic? Or do you use empathy? Do you use compassion? Do you have emotion? Does emotions play in a play? Even if you're making a very logical decision on maybe which bus to take from Adayar to, I don't know, Velacheri, which bus, or how do we travel? How do we have to travel? How do we travel? Do we take a bus? Do we take a train? Do we take a car? How do we do that? Right? That is not a logical decision, is it? If you think about it, some people, for me, I'm very much an eco-conscious person. So I would rather, actually, I might take a train, but there's no train running. So I have to take 5 steps. So so what do I do? Can I take a car? Is it an electric car? If so, I can guilt-free go there. But if not, what do I do? All of these are things that go through your mind when you're actually making a very simple decision on how to take a bus, or even more simpler, what to eat today, right? So that we have to remember that evolutionarily we have come from a place of completely something like eat, food, enemy, friend. That is how small our intelligence was, our ancestors' intelligence was, to the place where we can actually perceive, actually philosophize, actually compose music. That is a huge leap, and it didn't happen just by logic. It happened with various different ways in which we perceive our intelligence evolved. So that means that our intelligence is not just logic. If it was, we could simply have the computer do everything for us, because computer works on logic as well, right? So it's not that. Now, so when we map that, when we overlay that on AI, right, that entire thing becomes a huge conglomerate of things or subjects that feed into it, right? AI is a how do you call it, a all encompassing word for not just one stream of study. It's about many things. Robotics is one, natural language processing is the other, computer vision is the third one, which understands, in which the researchers are trying to make computers understand images and understand context of images, etc. Machine learning is the other one, right? Deep learning is the third one. Again, specialization of certain things. There are loads of others like planning and knowledge management and all that. There are quite a lot of research happening behind the scenes. But AI, as we understand it, is not narrow. It is not a one word that basically says everything. An AI can do everything that is listed here. No, AI is just a word that indicates a stream, a collection of subjects that we are looking at, right? But where are we in terms of AI? What place are we, right? I don't know if you know. Can you notice that? Do you notice that that looks like a car, doesn't it? That is the first car. That is the first car ever released by Mercedes-Benz out of the world. It looks very rudimentary, right? It's got 4 wheels, maybe a steering wheel, maybe a light, maybe a horn, right? It doesn't have any safety features. It doesn't have dashboards. It doesn't have air conditioning. It doesn't have anything that modern cars have. That is the state of AI at the moment. Means it's very rudimentary in nature. It doesn't have enough breadth of features for us to think that it can be a great replacement for a human being, right? If you are driving Tesla at the moment, we are centuries away from the Tesla. We're centuries away. The reason is because it is, like I said, human intelligence, as we perceive it, has a lot more going on rather than just logic and data and neural networks, right? Right. So how does AI work? I mean, as in, why do we think that it is not there yet, right? So think about a problem, right? Think about how we describe a problem and how we are going to solve a problem. A very simple example is that you got your a mediation exercise coming up. You've got 2 parties coming up. You got to sit in front of these 2 parties and start helping them, give them your expertise and help them with a solution, right? Now, how do we predict the outcome of that problem, right? The desired outcome is that they come to a conclusion, come to a nice little understanding of what each other's positions, and and there is a resolution for the whatever conflict that was, right? That if you describe that as a problem, how vast is this problem? I mean, how vast do you think it is a problem? As a trained mediator, you probably think that, well, that's another day in my work life. But how big is the actual problem? What are all involved in that, right? It's not just your expertise. It's not just that, well, I know a little bit about computers, so I can mediate in a conflict related to software engineering or anything like that, or I know a little bit about human psychology, so I think that I have the capability to mediate between people who have emotional issues, etc. So all of this is not how you mediate. When you're sitting in front of 2 people trying to figure out, I mean, I'm speaking from trying to mediate between my daughters. One is 5 and is 3, and they are constantly warring. How do I sit in front of them and mediate? Do I go prepared? Is every data that I have in my head basically there before I go there? Oh, well, that's the data set. I'm just going to look through the data set. I'm going to try to find a solution, and then I'm going to just present it to them. That's not how it is it? It is way more dynamic, way more subtle, way more. There will be a little bit of crying, there'll be a little bit of hitting, there'll be a little bit that, I mean, at least in my daughter's case, that's exactly what happens. A little bit of crying, a little bit of yelling, a little bit of screaming, blaming each other. All of this happens, right? So how do we is our negotiation so simple that we can literally, even in that case, simple that we can literally have one AI trained for one domain answer all the questions and help them? I don't think so. The reason why AI cannot do it is because of the vastness of the knowledge required, or the vastness of the data required to become knowledge for the AI to reason with, right? Now, so what is happening these days is that you've got narrow vision, narrow what we call as domains, as we call it in artificial intelligence, narrow worlds in which can be addressed by a particular machine. So for example, there is a if we are talk, we have, there is a website called Mediator.ai. Now, that website is basically supposed to be a full-blown mediator replacement for artificial intelligence. But even there, they are saying that, well, you need to give it data, you need to input data to it, and it will basically, based on what it has learned before, it will suggest a solution, or it suggest a conflict resolution. That's narrow. That's very narrow, in the sense that all it can do literally is, you give it some data, you give it some input, it'll go and look for its own knowledge base, very limited knowledge base, I'm pretty sure, its own knowledge base, and come up with a possibility of a solution to a particular conflict. It can't know everything about anything, right? So that the reason is that the amount of computing power required, the amount of data storage required to even do one domain fully is very, very, very vast, right? So that means that people try to, when they create a model, they try to focus on a particular problem and try to solve that problem with the domain. I mean, surely when you talk to chat GPT, you feel, well, actually it knows everything. No, it doesn't. It knows what is there in the web, right? It knows what is there of publicly available data sets that has been fed into it. It knows about that. But does it know enough about Chennai? No, I don't think so. It knows where things are. It knows where the things are, but which is the best coffee shop in Chennai? Maybe it'll say, well, subjectively, I know that 15 people have liked this coffee shop, so I think that is a good coffee shop. That's all it can say. It doesn't have the experience of actually drinking the coffee. It has it. So it's similarly when we look at AI in the sense of conflict resolution, or even answering queries on certain things, it has been trained on a narrow data set, and the world is vast, and we all know that, right? The world is vast. The culture, there are so many cultural differences between us to even imagine that a machine can understand every bit of cultural, linguistic diversity. Yeah, but that's available. That can have an impact on the resolution of a problem. It knows everything? I don't think so. I personally have not seen that. And when we talk about narrow AI, and when we talk about the solutions to these problems, the tiny problems, there were two ways in which scientists looked at the problem domain, and what the solutions for them. One is called an expert system. This was very much active, and still active in a way, in the 1970s and 80s, where you basically go, well, define a domain, define a world, define the problem, and then query the system to go, well, this is the world, this is the rules, these are the rules in the world. Tell me what the answer is for that. I mean, it was great for building out games. It is phenomenal when we need to go from one place to another. Google's map probably uses a bit of this inference engine to expert system to do that, because it knows that, well, there is a traffic there, there is a roadblock there, so I will just guide you through a certain way, right? The other, which is way more prevalent right now, is what we call as neural networks. It is how it tries to mimic what our brain does. Basically, it's got an input layer. You feed data into it. It goes through a layers of neurons, literally, and it comes out with an output layer. So you just keep feeding data to it, and it keeps feeding data. You tell it that, well, when this happened, that happened. When this happened, that happened. So what I think Krishna and everyone talked about, labeled data, as in you basically say that, well, when this happens, this is the meaning of that, and you give that to the neural network. It tons and loads and loads and loads of that. Those examples, I would say, it will come out with a sort of a model. Call it let's call it a model for now. Model which understands the data that the data that you have provided it with, right? And then what you do is you then query that. You basically tell it, okay, well, you know what? Tell me what happens here, and it will predict the output at the output layer to say, well, this is what it means, right? And it'll tell you a confidence score, which means that it'll tell you how much it thinks is it possible. I mean, a 50-50 confidence score is, I mean, that's astrology, isn't it? I mean, you can't say that I mean, it's almost saying, well, it may happen or may not happen. That makes no sense. But what we need is a high confidence score. But how confident can a machine get? Can we mimic? Can we spoof these machines to predict wrong? Although it thinks that it has predicted the right thing, can we spoof it to make it predict wrong things? Yes, absolutely possible, right? Now, what we discuss as neural networks is the primary AI models that we see in these days, right? Starting from ChatGPT to any other website that you have seen, it all is built on this sort of neural networks, pretty much mimicking how our brain works. But our brain is way more optimized. Our brain works on 5 watts of power. OpenAI requires, I think, millions of gallons of water, millions of megawatts of electricity to simply tell you, tell you a translated version of, say, for example, Bible or some other text. So it is not optimal. It is not optimized at all, as in the current AI systems are not optimized at all,
Okay,
really.
sure. I have a question here.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting question, but you should understand the question and then give me an answer. The question is, imagine I'm a mediator. I'm sitting between two parties who are fighting on a piece of property, which they have, which they have inherited according to them in two different ways. One has one version, another have another version. Okay, now, is it possible for me to use a AI, based program to give them a precise understanding of how the property devolved as per the law which they have to follow? Because in India, different people have different set of laws. So, and at least under the current law, how the property should devolve under the in Hindu Succession Act, for example, how does the property devolve? And this is the case. Can I use it? Will I get a precise answer? Is it a dependable? Will be a dependable answer? Now, this is what I mean. Just asking you a very, very crisp question from our industry, so that you can explain.
Sure. So your question basically is, can AI clearly understand the context behind those documents, understand what law was applicable during those times whenever the document was created, or what has been referenced inside the documents, and can it successfully provide you with an answer which actually is factual and correct?
Yeah, I mean, you are, I will give it in a little more specific way. For example, Ambili and Eswar are the cousins, are from two moms, okay, who are sisters, two girls who are sisters, and our children fighting for a property which was not, partitioned during their grandmother's time. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. So in such a scenario, if I can feed that, who am I? What is my line of descendants? What is your line of descendants? And can I get a exact understanding as to, is at least to that extent, is it dependable? So that there is a problem resolution there, right? I mean, can I give that in paper to them, see, this is what the AI shows, and so you have to agree for this kind of a outcome.
Yeah, because they are based on facts and because they are based on established laws, and the law has a clarity, well, sort of, right? As long as it's not it's not open to interpretation, and the law has a clarity on how the succession needs to happen. Absolutely, a machine can do that. That's because it's all based on facts. There is no emotions involved there. They are strict facts, provided in the document, referenced in the document in a clear way, and then the system can obviously look up the information, look up the law at that point of time, and decide, yeah, well, yeah, okay, because there is that binary equation there immediately, isn't it? The moment you hear that, you say, well, actually, is it or is it not? That is a binary equation there. Well, absolutely, the machine can basically look at that and provide you with that information. But that's again a facilitator role that AI is providing you, right? Not a replacement role, if that makes sense, right? So here you're talking about factual data. As far as we are concerned, it's a factual data, and that factual data is available for us to discern, available for the system to read and to parse. Yeah, absolutely. No questions at all.
The party who has not got the expected outcome to question the reliability of the data, of the reliability of the.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. But then we can make the AI generate references, right? Unlike the lawyer in Canada who basically just referenced bunch of nonsensical laws and precedents to put it in front of a judge. So the thing about the machine is that if it is factually referenced, then there is no question about overriding it, right? If a law is open to interpretation and it's not clear, then obviously AI will not be able to provide you with a factual and referenceable and what is the word that I'm looking for? Yeah, I mean, it cannot provide you with an answer if it is open to interpretation, which means that if there's a human being who basically can question a piece of data, then a law, then obviously it cannot say. It will basically say, well, yeah, this is what the law states at this stage, at this moment, but there has been conflicts. You can do all that linking and all that kind of stuff well, but what it cannot do is it cannot, the moment you basically say that, well, actually, I have a good relationship with my sister, so I don't want to make it too worse for her. All that kind of emotional jargon comes into play. Then obviously AI will fail because it is unable to parse emotions. It is unable to understand the context behind the decision that it is making. All it can do is basically say, factually, this document is right, that document is wrong. I'm gonna go with this person. That is perfectly valid response as far as AI is concerned. Ambali?
That means we have nothing to worry as mediators.
I was getting to that. I think we are getting very close to talking about that. So I just wanted to quickly go through data and tell you what cleanliness and clarity actually means.
Yeah.
Let me quickly run through this. So
yeah, we will conclude within another 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm just telling you, because there should be a question answer session also.
Yeah. Okay. So why don't I quickly jump to the to where I wanted to get through to, right? I just wanted to quickly talk about something that someone raised about biases and data accuracy and reliability. Now, the thing that we need to remember is that a model is what is tested for accuracy and reliability, not the data, right? Data is simply fed into it, and data is, I mean, you by reading the accuracy, precision, and recall of a model, you can then decide whether the data that was fed into it is right or wrong, and that directly maps to data. But it's not the data that we evaluate; it's the model that we evaluate, right? Because the model might be configured wrongly. The data might be perfectly fine. The model might be configured wrongly, and it'll give us wrong answers. So it's important for us to understand that when you evaluate, when at least scientists like people who are interested in AI evaluate things, they are not just evaluating the data. They are asking, well, what data set? Right? What is the balance of the data set? How the data set was structured, and then the model which the data set is supposed to have been fed into. They will evaluate both of them together, and that's why I would say that whenever you look at a Mediator.ai or any other AI model, you need to ask the principal question that you need to ask is, what is the source of the data? Right? What is the precedence of the data? What is the provenance of the data? And how was the model? What is the output of the model evaluation that the organization is telling you? If the organization says, well, my accuracy is 90%, my precision is 0%, then you will reject that model, because precision is way more important than accuracy. Right? Accuracy is how many times did it win, and precision is how much of a quality of output that the model gave. So that's how you evaluate models, right? That was one question that was asked. The other one is about biases and things like that. So I would like to quickly go through that. So what we need to figure out, you're absolutely right, Charan, in the sense that biases are a real world problem. That is because human beings are biased, right? We have tribalism involved, we have co-religionism involved. Quite a lot of factors dive into our minds, even when we are doing our mediation. It's so easy for us to jump into this sort of biases and then make decisions based on those biases. It is natural evolutionary model for our brain. Our brain is built for biases because our brain is optimized, right, for certain things. So obviously you're going to find biases, and because our human brain is curating the data, biases are natural to seep in. The way you get out of that is by basically making sure that you actually test it in that model in every single situation that you're going to encounter. Diverse set of people, diverse set of organizations, and diverse set of groups of people, right? Not just the color of the skin, but their medical conditions, their mental augmented conditions. All of that becomes a part of that. Should be a part of the the evaluation of models before you say, well, yeah. So the final thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is where I wanted to get to when it came to models, as in firing a human and hiring an AI, that is the brief list of things that I thought that a mediator requires, at least from the things that I've read. All of this it's not just expert knowledge that we are talking about. It's about everything else that goes through that a human being has to have before they can actually talk to sit in front of two people and mediate, right? How much can we map this to AI? How many of these can be mapped to AI? Expert knowledge, completely. Communication skills, absolutely brilliant. Emotional intelligence, no way. Linguistic abilities, maybe, right? Because still the whole world speaks English, so they think that everything is English, right? But that's not the case. We have Tamil, we have Malayalam. There'll be a party that's both Tamil and Malayalam, who understands Tamil and Malayalam. Someone will be a Telugu person, someone will be a Hindi person. How is that model going to talk to all of them? We can switch between the languages quickly, but can AI models be? No, it can't. But and at the bottom of that, and this is very important, the red line that you cannot cross, which is ethics, morality, privacy, and confidentiality. Privacy, we think that our data is private. Is it? It is going to an organization in the US, stored in the US, built in the US, worked up on the US. How private is our data? Whatever model you are using, whatever websites you are using, right? So privacy is, I'm not sure. Confidentiality, well, maybe, right? Ethics and morality, now that is where things go completely awry. In the sense, how ethical is it for us to have a machine talk to a wounded man about his a man or woman, basically, about their problem? How ethical is it for us to allow a machine to how do you call it, allow the machine to upload their personal, very sensitive, very personal data into a place which so that the machine can understand you better? I mean, there are questions, more questions. Morality of the obviously is a answer. So
But Eswar, this ethics, I'll interject you here. But ethics in a mediation room, I think is not understood that way. Ethics is like there are a few code of conduct. There are a set of rules that you need to follow. I think there I think you can, I mean, you know, some AI will be more sensible than, you know, at least the human biases will not sweep into an AI machine when you're dealing with two parties who are, you know, who has to be viewed in the same way. Like my ethnicity will definitely, if I'm sitting with a Malayali woman, and the other side is you know, maybe a Punjabi man. Maybe somewhere a little bit I may want to, you know, oscillate towards the Malayali woman. So these areas, I think, I mean, I'm just asking you whether these areas, when it comes to basic things, as you said, you can't hear, there cannot be an empathy, but there could be a more, you know, more balanced way a machine would work than a human being. I mean, that is what ethics in a mediation.
Yeah, I completely understand that. But again, ethically, you may be right that the machine is unbiased in that in the opinion. But then again, we have to go back and take what data was fed into it. Was the data predominantly from a Malayali group? Was the data predominantly from a Punjabi group? So so when the machine is interpreting this even the language, the what you're talking about, all of that, how can it quite clearly understand the Malayali person, because their culture is different, whereas Punjabi culture is different, right? So when Malayali says une and Punjabi says khana, how can it understand both of them in the way? I mean, that's a very simple rudimentary example, but how can it understand what une means and what kana means, right? So this is it's important for us to understand, even though you feel that it's unbiased, the data, the model that was created, that was generated by someone else who has absolutely nothing to do with anything, and the data that was fed into it, there is no providence for that. So how would you trust a machine to be ethical?
So do you mean to say a prototype which is developed in the US and used in different parts of the world, that prototype will look more fair to people from a particular group, but not fair to another set of people?
There has been cases where data has been trained on predominantly white male data, white male observations, and then has been asked to be applied to a minority person, and obviously it'll come back and say, well, it'll give you an outcome which is very much closer to a white man's white males, whatever. So
it will give a white logic than a black logic. It will give a white logic than a black logic.
It'll be biased towards white person rather than a black person. In a conflict situation, that's what it'll bias towards. I mean, this is a very rudimentary way of reading it, but
this is the point what Charanin was talking, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And I, from my perspective, the providence of the data, I'm not saying that do not use AI models. I'm saying that it's very important for you to evaluate the providence of the data, where the data came from, and how was the data distributed, and how the model was trained, where was it trained, how distributed was the model, what is the accuracy, what is the precision of the model, what is the recall of the model. All of these need to be evaluated together to figure out if something is worth using, right? Especially in the AI model. It is not like a program. It is not like a simple program. It has a lot of power, right? So quickly, where the possibilities I see from my perspective, when it comes to using AI within the sphere of mediation, is it can be a great interpreter and evaluator of outcomes, as in it can unbiasedly look at outcomes and say, well, actually this is a valid outcome or invalid outcome, or whether that outcome is fair, right? It is possible for an AI model to be trained to do that as an augmenter of information for the expert. So for an expert, as a human expert,
can you come again? What you just said? You mean to say it can be used
as an interpreter and evaluator of outcomes, as in it it can look at the outcomes that have come from, for example, if you feed it with a lot of data of previous past outcomes, it can actually start making sense of the outcomes so that it can tell you whether the outcome was fair or not. I mean, this may not be a mediator specific, it may be arbitration specific as well, but ultimately the goal here is that an AI is able to impartially look at judgments, impartially look at mediation outcomes, and then tell you, and as a data point, as an analytical point, tell you whether something was fair or not, right? Depending on how it's been trained, as an augmenter of information for the report. As in, when an expert is looking for information, an expert is deliberating on information that has been provided within a conflicting parties, it can very well augment the capabilities of the expert by doing quick summarization, quick research, right? As a transcriber and a summarizer of the proceedings. I think someone touched upon that. The fact that it can actually sit in a room with the mediator and everyone, it can take down notes. It can bring it can, in a very clear, very sort of, at least give you a rough draft or the first draft of the proceeding summary, right? As a predictor of potential outcomes using high level interaction. So what it can do is it can literally sit in a mediation or in a mediation panel or anything like that, and it can then, looking at the interactions that have happened between the people, it can predict the potential outcome, right? It may not be necessary for every time, but at the same time, it is possible for a mediator to look at those outcomes to see why it thinks that this is certain things is right or wrong. Why is it feels that this can be given, that data can be given more weight, and this data cannot be given more weight. All of that can be done.
Yeah, so
all in all,
it can keep a complete update of what was discussed in the room, and the person cannot say, I did not say that earlier. I mean,
that's
at least,
perfectly possible. That's perfectly,
yeah.
that is one. I mean, we can always use a recording device for that, but that's
that is
the
that is
point.
actually against the mediation. I mean, the concept of
Right.
mediation per se.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. But the idea here is that AI, from my conclusion and my vision for AI, at least at this stage, is for it to be to be used as an augmenter of capabilities in a room rather than replacement. This is my reading of it, right? Do not fall for hype. I would say learn, adapt, and utilize. Do not fall for hype from organizations, because they are ultimately selling you a service, right? Their world is selling a service, and this service may not fit every possible thing. Like I said, mediated AI, probably trained on British and American law and American thing. How can they become a arbitrator or a mediator within Indian context? It's impossible. And India is so diverse, so vast, and so linguistically and culturally diverse that it's very difficult for an AI to make sense of everything, right? It's not a weakness of an AI. It's more of a situation or a fact, and the sort of the real world position for of all of this. So that is my conclusion. I am driving towards my conclusion. I am, like I said, I'm an ethicist, so I don't like replacing human beings with things, but this is what my conclusion is. It's a powerful tool. It's full of potential. It may in the future become a frontliner, but not at this stage, not at this moment, right? There's still centuries worth of research that has to happen before we can even say that AI is anywhere close to a human being. This is what I have observed and learned from my
Thank
experience.
you very much, Eswar. But I want to ask: is there any questions that we have here? If that is it, we have quick 5 to 6 minutes for that, and we'll wrap up. Anybody needs to ask any questions? It's clear. Now, Eswar is saying that it can only be a facilitator. You cannot replace a mediator with an AI, because in India specifically it is not possible. That I think it's very convincing for me. But is there anybody who wants to ask any question? Let me know.
Thank you very much, sir. You have given all the inputs into the AI, and what we have put in the data and other details, we will be able to get the result. Thank you, Ampuli Menon. You have arranged a very nice lecture. Professor has given an excellent opening in the field. I think we are able to understand. We have to do a lot of work on the subject. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. Thank you.
Member of our International Mediation Organization. Thank you very much. And if there is any more questions, I'll just ask once again before I wrap up. Can we look forward AI to do a mediation in the near future?
Like I said, not immediately. Don't look at it as a job problem, but more of a technological problem. It is a technological problem. There are limits to how much a technology can help. So from my perspective, I don't believe that can be replaced. But do not stop there. Learn and then utilize AI for your own benefit. That's what I would say. Use it for what it is good at. I mean, it's very good at number crunching. It's very good at data crunching. It's very good at summarization. It'll save you years, I mean, months of work. But sometimes, because it can do summarization very, very nicely. If you go to our open ChatGPT, drop a big document and ask it to summarize, it'll give you a phenomenal summary. Right. So go use that. Use the powers that are already available, and do not be complacent.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Muthukrishnan sir. Thank you, Shangravel sir, for the question. Is there anybody who wants to ask question? Can I wrap up? Can all the speakers just on their video so that we can just have a quick Priya, can you just take a picture so that?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So can I request you to just stop the screen sharing so that we can have a picture of all of us?
Ishwar, can you just switch off the screen sharing?
Yes, it's
I think
done.
I have.
It's done.
Thank you very much, Ishwar. Really, it was very, very, I mean, it was very, very useful because it is not that we, this is what we believe, this is what we mediators want to believe, this is what every Indian legal fraternity, the entire legal fraternity in India wants to believe, that it cannot be replaced. Lawyers or mediators, cannot be replaced by AI. But we needed assurances from people like you. So that happened today, and I think for that reason, this it's very, very, very sensible topic we chose, and I profusely thank each one of the student speakers who are really busy. You have no idea the kind of work. Unlike my days, the children have to go through to get through all these examinations and projects and all that. It is not easy to get children. They are very, very busy all the time. Thank you, Shloka. Thank you, Charanyan Reddy. I mean, for Charanyan, he's in the US. It's early morning for him there. Thank you, Rijul. Rijul is so active with this, the Kolkata rape issue, and he has been there, doing a lot of good work. Thank you, Rijul, for your time. Krishna, thank you very much for your time. Siddharth Govind, another person, he's a graduate from King's College London. He's somewhere, I mean, he's all the time, in the move. Thank you very much, Siddharth, for your time and having agreed to, come. And Shloka, and thank you, thanks. You are in India right now, right? Very good. Thank you. And Ishwar, I don't want to thank you more than this because it is not necessary, I know. So thank you very much. And all the participants, I can see all familiar faces. Thank you, IMO, for the support for the program. We are coming with more webinars with amazing keynote speakers. So please stay tuned in. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Everybody is saying wonderful session. Thank you very much.